What's up, fam? Welcome, everybody. Just going live on Instagram right now. Let's wait for everybody to come in. Excited to dive into the astrology of the week. How's everybody doing? We're in our new moon in Virgo cycle, so let's wait for the fam to come in. I'm live on Instagram, and this will be uploaded onto YouTube later on today. Everybody coming in, welcome. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about this week's astrology. Virgo season is here. We have eclipses coming up in a few weeks. How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? How was your weekend? Buenos dias. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Look at all these beautiful faces. What's up, Jay? Hey, Michelle. Hey, Roxana. She's Latina, so she likes her name to be said like that. Waiting for everybody to come in. We have the moon in Libra today. Very important season. This is a very important season if you're a mutable sign, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius. This Virgo season is very important for you this week. You know, a lot of movement in your guys' life this season. So we're excited to talk about that. Go a little bit deep into that, maybe shed some light on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of like an overview of the astrology of this week, and then we're going to dive into the details of the week, okay? Happy Monday. I've been pooped all day, can't stay awake. Yeah, has anybody been having like insomnia? They've been finding it really hard to sleep? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for buying a badge, my love. I appreciate you. Let's just wait for more people to come in. We just hopped on. We just started 3 minutes ago. So we have Venus and Leo today. The only big, like, major planetary movement that we have this week is Venus and Leo. Venus moved into Leo today. And we have the moon in Libra today, tomorrow, Wednesday. So I think this week there's a big focus on relationships. I think there's a big focus on kind of like what like Venus and Leo is gonna be about. Someone said they tossed and turned all night. Someone said I took a day off work. I was tired, I have a little cold. Okay, yeah. So Venus and Leo, right? Um, she's gonna be in Leo from today, August 25th, until September 19th. So she's gonna be in Leo pretty much all Virgo season. Um, and Venus in Leo is going to have us call attention to how we feel celebrated or supported, or how we feel, how we identify with others, our relationships, our partnerships. It's gonna call focus to that. Aquarius and Leo people, Venus and Leo is going to be very important for your love life, for your romantic life, especially if you have your rising, your moon, or your Venus in Aquarius or Leo. This is going to be very, very important for you. The accidents have been insane. Yeah, someone said that okay, so let's talk about that. Someone said that they saw someone get hit by a car this weekend. There's been a lot of accidents. Anybody know why that is? I'm gonna explain it to you. Um, The reason being is because we had a new moon in Virgo recently that squared Uranus and Gemini. Okay. So the square to Uranus, right? The square to Uranus is what brings about kind of like accidents, people twisting their ankle, sudden releasing of energy, right? That can feel very chaotic or unexpected. Hmm. We had two people in the comments say Uranus. Exactly. It's the new moon in Virgo squaring Uranus and Gemini, which is why we're getting. Also, there's been a lot of sudden, unexpected passings. It's been a big theme. People passing away suddenly. This is kind of like a This is kind of like a dangerous time. Um, because we have, so if you put Virgo on the rising, right? If you put Virgo as the first house, you put Virgo on the rising. What you get in the second house is you get Mars and Libra. And then in the eighth house, away from Virgo. So if you're a Virgo rising, this is probably very important for you, or even if you have your moon or your sun in Virgo, you probably want to listen to this. You have Saturn in the eighth house in Aries from the sign of Virgo. So Virgo's eighth house, no matter if you have your sun, your rising, your moon, if you count eight houses away from your rising, your sun, your moon, if you count eight houses away from your rising, your moon placement, your sun placement, in the eighth house away from Virgo, what do we have? We have the sign of Aries, and that's where Saturn is at. And the eighth house has a lot to do with death, right? It has a lot to do with transformation, it has a lot to do with purging or even life-changing experiences that are very cathartic and that like you can't go back from. So what's interesting about the eighth house and about eighth house transits, especially when you have Saturn or Jupiter go through the eighth. This is a very useful way to kind of use transits when it comes to prediction in your own chart and like timing events and stuff. Jupiter takes about a year to transit a sign, Saturn takes about 2.5 years. But now that we have Saturn, right, in the eighth house for Virgo people, for Virgo placements, a Virgo sun, moon, and rising especially, there's gonna be a lot of things where you have to kind of confront like death or endings, or there's gonna be some kind of, experiences that you're gonna go through that are gonna transform and change your life moving forward permanently. And that's the thing that we get with Scorpio, right? Scorpio in the eighth house, because Scorpio is a traditional ruler of the eighth house, what we get is endings or transformation and changes that you can't really go back from. You can't go back. And like death is like a permanent transformation, right? If we're talking about the eighth house, death, like when you pass away, when you die, like you permanently transform, like you permanently transition. Like there's no coming back from the dead, right? Like the eighth house is like a one-way street. And Virgo people are really going to be feeling that with Saturn in the eighth for well, Saturn's going to retrograde, right? So by our last eclipse that we have, our 29-degree solar eclipse in Virgo, that's going to be on the 21st. By that eclipse on September 21st, um, Saturn is back at 29 degrees Pisces. So he's going to go backwards, right? And then so we're going to have so mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, with Saturn going back into Pisces, September, October, November, December, there's something that they have to reckon with from the past that Saturn's going to have them take a look at. And it's interesting because it's going to feel more destructive. It's going to feel more chaotic. It's going to feel a little bit more like an upheaval, okay? Or it can, but it can also be really positive. It can be really good. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. But this is for mutable signs. If you're a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, okay, this is very important because, Saturn going back to 29 degrees Pisces, and then we have a solar eclipse in Virgo that's at 29 degrees. We have the sun and the moon at 29 degrees, okay, directly opposite Saturn. There's some kind of reality check, some kind of wake up call, and some kind of hard stop, or some kind of letting go, some kind of cancellation, or some kind of ending, some kind of dramatic climactic ending that, may be tied to what Saturn and Pisces has meant for you, mutable signs, over the last 2.5 years. Since Saturn's been in Pisces since 2022? Yeah, 2022. Since Saturn has been was in Pisces in 2022. Yeah, I'm talking about the eclipse. I'm talking about the eclipse that we have on September 21st. We have a Virgo solar eclipse that's opposite Saturn and Pisces. So, Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces, right? But Saturn in Aries right now is giving many people a preview of what's like meant to end or what's going to be released or what's going to come to a close or even what's going to like begin and start anew with Saturn and Aries, right? So I think this is a very important period, this period, right? Where we have Uranus, Saturn, Pluto, well, mainly, Uranus and Saturn and Neptune, dipping their toes into the new signs, but then they're going to go backwards, right? And that's the other thing. Like Uranus, even though he's in Gemini now, He's only going to get to like 2 degrees Gemini, and then he's in retrograde. He's going to go back into Taurus, right? So we have Neptune's going to go back into Pisces. Saturn's going to go back into Pisces as well. So because these planets they've ingressed into new signs, but they're not done with the previous signs that they're exiting. We're we're in transition. And many people are feeling this. Like many people are feeling like their life is in transition in some type of way, and things are not like that new timeline, that new beginning, that new start. We're seeing inklings of it. We're getting previews. We're getting insights into the future, right? We're feeling motivated. We're feeling called. We may see new things start to emerge on our timeline, or we're feeling pulled in new directions, but we're not seeing it concretely, actually. There's still a little bit of personal reckoning. There's still some things that we got to deal with from the past in order for us to fully transition into that new timeline, into that new lifestyle, into that new identity, into that new way of self-expression, right? We're in this in between. And what's important though is like for mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, is like the last 2.5 years for you with Saturn going through Pisces, right? It's been like a maturity period. It's like it's time for you to grow up. Like that's what Saturn in Pisces was doing for the mutable signs. It's time for you to mature. It's time for you to grow up. It's time for you to learn how to take care of yourself. It's time for you to be more responsible. It's time for you to have more boundaries in your relationships. It's time for you to learn how to say no. It's time for you to stop being a people pleaser. It's time for you to stop letting yourself get walked all over, right? It's time for you to let go of your narratives around suffering and around being a victim and around being, like the codependent habits and behaviors, right? There's like a lot of things that the mutable signs have had to confront over the last 2.5 years. But now, right, this season with these eclipses coming up, now the nodes are going through Pisces and Virgo. And there's a amplification of these kind of karmic lessons, but also karmic renewal that's happening for mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag. So I think what's important is like it's important to honor and pay respects and grieve what is exiting mutables, or what has exited, what the lessons you've learned and the losses you've gone through, or the heartbreaks and the struggles that you've dealt with over the last 2.5 years with Saturn and Pisces, right? But you also got to take a look at what's emerging, what's growing, what fresh new seeds are breaking through the ground, right? Mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius. And for Pisces and Virgo people, it's mainly around the relationships and partnerships. It's mainly around the way that they connect and the way that they relate to others, and also what their expectations are in relationships, right? I think, Virgo and Pisces have been going through a upgrade when it comes to their needs and their wants and their expectations and their desires when it comes to relationships and the relationship life, right? That's because we have the nodes transiting Pisces and Virgo right now. And I think what's also really important for Pisces and Virgo people is like to take notice of the people coming into your life. I think we can really obsess and have so much of a focus on what's like leaving or what's exiting our life, or what is gone, what is exited, right? That we forget to really give energy and pay attention to the things that are kind of like growing, or even the relationships that are entering. And I think that's the very important thing for Virgo Pisces people right now, is like you guys have to really, really focus and pay attention to and put energy into the people that are entering, the new connections, right? Or even the connections that are kind of like evolving and that need to go in a new direction. You want to have a lot of agency. You want to put a lot of energy into that. You want to put a lot of focus into that. Okay. I think it's very important. Where for Gemini and Sagittarius, this season and the eclipses and everything, it's more so about like their work life and their career life, and it's more so about their home life and their family life and where they're living. So if you are a Gemini or Sagittarius, you have your sun, moon, or rising there, especially, the way Saturn and the nodes have been going to work on you with the nodes in Pisces and Virgo as of this year, but also with Saturn in Pisces over the last 2.5 years, right? Um, for you guys, Gemini and Sag, especially Sun, Moon, and Rising, it's more so about your career direction and your like what you're doing with your life, like where you're going with your life. And also, are you in the right place? So, are you in the right environment? Are you surrounded by the right people? Is your living situation correct? Like, and I think that's another, so that's going to be a big area of kind of like um possible change, dramatic change, unexpected change, or even like deep realization and epiphany. It's like where you're living. And we're going to see a lot of, over the next 6 months, we're going to see a lot of mutable signs, but mainly people with Sag Gemini stuff, they're going to be moving and relocating. They're moving, and it could be tied to a career. So, they're going to live somewhere else, or they're feeling this call to live somewhere else that's a little bit more soul aligned, or even to live with people that are healthy and good for them, right? And I think that's one of the things that Gemini and Sagittarius need to be asking themselves this season, especially, we got these two new moons. We have this first new moon that we just had, and then we have a solar eclipse new moon in Virgo on the 21st of September. It's at 29 degrees. And then we have right in the middle, we have this lunar eclipse in Pisces, right, on September 7th. So I think, this is a very, very important, very pivotal, very critical, very dramatic period for mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say about this, so I want to talk a little bit about like the new moon. There's like a few things that I didn't mention about the new moon in my new moon live that I wish I had mentioned, and I want to mention it today. Because of the new moon that was squaring Uranus and Gemini, and because we have this conversation happening between the new moon in Virgo and Uranus and Gemini this week and next week, as we're going through this 2 week new moon in Virgo cycle, right? So the first thing I wanted to say was that this new moon cycle is going to give you messages or insights into the future around like what is possible for yourself, what kind of potential you have, or how in some ways, there could be opportunities, or there could even be like messaging, like, there could be songs or music, or you can, see a butterfly or something that kind of tells you, come this way, go this way. You know, you have to kind of trust that this is the direction that you're supposed to go in. And, and it may come in an unexpected random way, or it could come through a stranger, or it could come through this weird experience that you have, or something like this. Like, you could get a piece of communication, you can get a letter, you could get a phone call, or you can have a very important, pivotal conversation with someone over the next 2 weeks that really helps give insight into what your future is going to be. And this is because this new moon in Virgo, right, which is ruled by Mercury, was talking to Uranus and Gemini, who just went into Gemini and who's going to be there for the next 7 years, right? So it's kind of like, and Uranus is a planet that gives us insight into the future. One of the cool things that I've noticed about people that have a Uranus imprint in their chart, like let's say they have Uranus on the ascendant, or they have Uranus on their moon, or they have Uranus conjunct Mercury, or Uranus aspect in their Mercury, like these people, they get flashes of brilliance and flashes of insight into the future. And in a moment, like they'll get a vision, they'll touch something, they'll get a vision, or they'll meet someone, and then in conversation with that person, they'll have this idea, or they see something about this person from the future. They'll see them doing something in the future, right? Things like that. And so when we have a new moon that's aspecting Uranus, it's our first new moon that's aspecting Uranus, who recently entered Gemini, right? We're being, we're getting a little bit of we're getting foresight, we're able to look into the what do you call it, into the whatchamacallit, into the crystal ball, right? And I think that's one of the things I want you guys to really think about, or want you to pay attention to. Like, whether it be dreams, or whether it be a conversation, like I was saying, or whether it be, a run-in with a random stranger, like I was saying, like, you really want to give yourself some space, and you want to kind of pay attention. You want to be a little bit objective with your life right now, to just be open and receptive to messaging that you can get, that's showing you this is the way forward, or this is your future, or this is where we want you to go, or this is even where how you can get there, right? Like, many of us, we have goals, we have dreams, we have desires, we have certain aspirations that we want or certain things that we want from the future, right? The universe knows that. The universe is very aware of that, right? But we don't know how to get there many times. Well, this new moon in Virgo cycle that we're in this week, next week, may actually show you, okay, this is what you have to do. Like, this is what your blueprint is. Like, this is, you have to kind of commit to this plan, or these are the steps that you got to take. So I think it's very important to listen to that. And I think it's very important to take notice, right? Because Virgo, what is a Virgo, right? Virgo is the plan, Virgo is the blueprint. Virgo is the the steps that we got to take to get there. You know what I mean? And many times we want to get to a certain place. We don't know how to get there, but all we got to do is start incorporating, something into our daily life that leads us in that direction. You know what I mean? And this is one of the things I've explained before. It's like if you want to become a singer, then you sing every day. And then you're going to become a great singer. And then that ups your chances of actually being able to be discovered or even just developing security and safety with the talent. So you know that you're good, right? Or that you feel safe or you feel comfortable when you have to sing in front of people and stuff like that. But it's by bringing it into your life and your day to day that makes it more real and that where you're investing energy into it until where it can become something bigger. And that's the big question that this Virgo season is asking us is kind of like, with what it is that you want to grow in the future, what can you incorporate in your day to day now that will lead you there, that will get you there, right? Whether it be certain classes that you got to take, whether it be, you got to start studying or reading certain books, or you got to, whatever that may be, whatever that means for you. And I think that's the big question. We should be reflecting on that this week. We should definitely be reflecting on that this week, right? We just entered Virgo season. The sun's at, what is the sun at right now? The sun's at 2 degrees. We just got here. We just got to Virgo season, right? We're only a few days in. So I want you guys to think about that, okay? So the other thing that I wanted to talk about with the new moon in Virgo that was squaring Uranus is kind of like this tension between structure and rules and like routine, which is Virgo, and like being random, being chaotic, being sporadic, kind of like, doing things as they come, or kind of just, you know, going, making it day by day. That's a Uranus thing, right? So there's a little bit of this tension between like structure, discipline, routine, what consistency, which is the new moon in Virgo. And then the Uranus in Gemini is like, oh my God, I feel very chaotic. I feel very excited. I want to socialize. I want to have fun. I want to like do, I don't want to do the Virgo thing. So we have to find some kind of reconciliation. We got to find some balance between those two energies. What Uranus and Gemini is asking to do over the next 2 weeks, and what the new moon in Virgo is asking us to do over the next 2 weeks. Okay. And so Uranus and Gemini wants to liberate us or wants to free us from habits, routines, patterns, jobs, okay, daily structures that are not sustainable or that are no longer in alignment with our current timeline. So this is a beautiful new moon to adopt new habits. Because you're gonna have all month, right? You're gonna have all Virgo season to really refine and reflect on your habits, or to free yourself and adopt kind of like new habits. But there's things that are kind of like outdated or that we're no longer passionate about or that are kind of like boring. And those are the things that we're like moving away from. Those are the things that, we're kind of leaving behind this Virgo season. But this tension between Uranus and Gemini and the new moon in Virgo, we have to find some kind of reconciliation with that. Our nervous system could be feeling very erratic and very, we can be feeling very anxious. We can just be feeling very high energy or very, I got to do something. I got to do something new, because that new moon square and that Uranus and Gemini. And we should listen to that. I think, yeah, this is a beautiful time for new experiences, this new moon cycle. Because then once the eclipses come, starting 2 weeks from now, right? Even though we're in the eclipse portal, once the eclipses come, things are going to get a little bit more um, dramatic, a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more exciting. I think eclipses are exciting. I think they are, but they could be a little rough. They can, they could beat us up a little bit. So, all right. So let's talk about the astrology of the week. So, like I was saying in the beginning, the big transit this week, or the big ingress that we have this week, which actually is today, is Venus moving into Leo. And this is a pretty important transit. If you're a fire sign, if you're a fire, sun, moon, or rising, you have your Venus, your Mars in a fire sign. Venus is going to bring some kind of elegance, some kind of beauty, some kind of grace, some kind of ease, into your life. If you're a fire sign, you also are benefiting from Venus and Leo. If you're an air sign, it's pretty good for you as well. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, Venus and Leo either opposes you if you're an Aquarius or sextiles you if you are a Gemini or a Libra, right? So Venus and Leo is really good for Gemini or for air signs, fire signs, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sag, Aquarius, Aries. Um, what's also really interesting about Venus and Leo is Venus is co-present with Mercury in Leo. And Mercury's been in Leo for God knows how long. Well, quite a while. Let me actually count the weeks here that Mercury's been in Leo because he had a retrograde in Leo, right? So Mercury usually flies through a sign in about 3 weeks. Roughly 3 weeks takes him to go through a sign. But Mercury's been in the sign of Leo since, I'm going to tell you guys right now. Mercury's been in the sign of Leo. Oh my God. I'm in June right now. I'm in June. Holy moly, since the end of June. Hold on, I'm gonna get you the exact day. So Mercury's had this extended stay in the sign of Leo. So our Leo house has been feeling a little unstable. We've had to go and rework some things in our Leo house. We've had to go back to the drawing board in our Leo house. Since June 27th, Mercury went into Leo in like the 26th, 27th of June. So we've had Mercury in Leo June, July, all of August. Okay. June, July, 2 months, right? But the beautiful thing about Venus in Leo is Venus is coming into our Leo house, right, over the next 3 weeks to bring some kind of grace and to bring some kind of healing, to bring some kind of beauty, to bring some kind of balance and harmony to the Leo house, to our Leo house. Because Mercury had us go ahead and reflect and rework some things and had us do a deep dive, right, on our relationship with our Leo house. Have we been upkeeping it? Have we been sustaining it? The way that our day-to-day relationship with our Leo house was being reworked with the Mercury retrograde in Leo that we had a few weeks ago. So now that Venus is entering Leo and, for the next 3 weeks, she's going to be there until September. What did I say? September 22nd? September 21st. Our Leo house is finding some kind of grace, finding some kind of, balance, is finding some kind of harmony, which I love. But what's a little dramatic about Venus entering Leo this week, and specifically today, tomorrow, like the next few days, is Venus in Leo is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. Okay. And this Venus Pluto opposition tends to be a little rough, you know, because when Venus opposes Pluto, right, we got to think of Venus as being like Persephone and Pluto as like Hades, right? And Venus, when she hits that opposition with Pluto, she could become a victim to Pluto, right? All of a sudden, there's could be deep revelations or deep epiphanies about our relationships and themes around obsession or themes around jealousy or themes around envy or even themes around secrecy and deception or even themes around betrayal, right? Heartbreak. It's a very Venus opposite Pluto transit type of experience. So those are Venus opposite Pluto significations. And so I think we need to be very aware of what what is moving in our relationships this week, especially today, tomorrow, Wednesday, because the moon is in Libra, being disposited by Venus, who's opposite Pluto, right? So there's a theme of relationships in the air today, tomorrow, Wednesday. The 25th, the 26th, the 27th of August. There's a theme of relationships. And we're having to get to our deeper motivations in relationships, our deeper desires. It's Venus and Leo, it's the moon in Libra. So this is kind of giving me the Venus and Leo is like, am I getting what I need in my relationships? Am I getting that attention? Am I getting that recognition? Do I feel celebrated? Do I feel supported in my relationships, right? The other thing that I think is, can be something that shows up. It's kind of like going deeper in relationships, though. Like, do I really trust this person? Do I feel safe to emotionally invest? Can I really identify with this person? I think that's sometimes what Venus opposite Pluto is about. When that happens in transit is like we either want to like separate out of trauma and fear, or out of like, I don't trust this person, because Venus opposite Pluto brings up questions around trust. Or I want to go deeper. I want to merge, right? It's time for me to move in with Hades and go to the underworld. Right? Venus opposite Pluto is like, you know what? Actually, I do love him and I can save him. And you know what? Let me just go ahead and sign that contract and get my ass down there. Let me go crawl down that hole and be with Hades. Okay. And like, have you guys seen the it meme? Where it's like, where it has like the it, and he's like in the gutter, and he's like, come down here, you can read my birth chart, and then it shows like the person crawling down into like the gutter. It's kind of like that. It's like that's what Venus opposite Pluto is. It's like, it's like you're gonna go and be with, you're gonna go be with Hades. You're gonna go be with the devil, my love. I don't know what to tell you. No, but no, but but actually, right? This is like, it's time to merge. It's time to go deep. It's time to fully invest your heart, right? And Venus and Leo rules the heart. So Venus and Leo really is going to be asking us over the next 3 weeks, like, what are the deeper motivations of the heart? What does our heart really want, right? What does our heart really need? And I think another thing that is interesting about this, which is a download I just got, so I'm just going to share it with you guys, is like this this possibility of I've lost myself in my relationship. I don't know who I am anymore. Or like my relationship, or even it could be a friendship or a family relationship, whatever. I've lost my identity to this relationship. Like, this relationship I no longer identify with, or I don't know who I am. I'm confused about who I am and what I want, because not because of, but due to the influence of this relationship, or this relationship is no longer in alignment with my identity. This relationship is no longer in alignment with who I am, Venus and Leo identity, right? My personality, my self-expression, right? So there's some kind of excavation, some kind of revealing, some kind of, something being exposed, right? And our deeper motivations and things like this are going to be coming to the surface with Venus opposite Pluto, kind of like our deeper desires, our deeper needs, what we really want, and whether or not we identify with these relationships, or whether or not we've lost ourselves identity wise into relationships, right? And we need to reclaim. So there's this process of reclamation of the self. Like, I need to reclaim who I am from this relationship. I need to see who I am from this relationship, right? And you know what's so interesting about this is Venus, right? She is forming a trine with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. She's opposing Pluto and Aquarius. She's sextiling the moon in Libra today. She's sextiling Uranus in Gemini. Like, Venus, as she moves into Leo today, she's forming aspects to Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and the moon in Libra. So there's a lot going on. And you know what this kind of tells me? Because we have, the Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, all at like 1, 0 degrees. Three of them at 1 degrees, one of them is at 0 degrees. This is about newly emerging relationships. This is about newly emerging partnerships, or even our needs, our desires, our expectations, our wants in relationships are being updated, are evolving and changing, right? Venus is getting, energetically hit by so many planets. Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Moon, right? Today, today especially, but she's going to be feeling this over the next 3 days. And so there's definitely some kind of awakening. There's definitely an energetic focus happening in the realm of relationships. And, the Venus Uranus conversation can be being authentic and standing up for yourself in relationships, needing to rebel or break free from certain relationships or needing to hold others accountable, right? Which has been a big Mars and Libra thing that's been holding others accountable, right? The Venus trine Saturn, Venus trine Neptune is like, we need boundaries in our relationships. We need more compassion. They don't understand me. We're dealing with fights and conflicts in relationships because we have Mars and Libra, right? Mars and Libra has been bringing up drama in relationships, especially for cardinal signs. If you are Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, Libra, if you have your Sun, Moon, and Rising in Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, Libra, you have been dealing with conflicts in relationships and partnerships because of the Mars and Libra. Okay. That's what's been going on with y'all. All right. So there might be a confrontation around that. Okay. And then we have Venus opposite Pluto. So, it's kind of heartbreaking. It's kind of sad. It's kind of, there's like a devastation and there's a drama. It's been a very dramatic time. Come on, Mercury's been in Leo for the last 2 months, right? So it's been a very dramatic time. But that Venus Pluto opposition, which we've been talking about before I've been, mentioned the Venus sextile Uranus and the Venus touching Saturn Neptune and the Venus touching the moon, right? It's like there's like these deeper motivations and there's these excavations and there's these revelations and there's this purging and there's like a detoxification happening in the realm of relation. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, you know? And another thing I want to remind you guys, right? Like it is not so often that we get Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto aspecting each other in the sky the way that they are now. It's very rare, you know, because it's one thing to have Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus all go into new signs, right? That's beautiful. Pluto is in Aquarius now. Neptune's in Aries now, right? Uranus is in Gemini now. But not only is it them entering new signs, but they're all aspecting each other. Pluto's trine Uranus, right? Uranus is sextile Neptune. Neptune is sextile Pluto. So Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are all talking to each other in aspect. That doesn't happen too often, especially in conjunction with them entering new signs. So what's so important about this, period is like this newly emerging timeline that we're stepping into. And it's something that we got to be honest. It's something that we got to recognize and we got to just like do our best to stay grounded, even though everything is like updating, everything is like speeding up, and everything is evolving at such a rapid pace, you know. But we're really gonna feel this week, especially these first 3 days. We're feeling this in the realm of relationships, especially because of the Venus and Leo. Okay, if you're a fixed sign, this week, if you're a fixed sign, if you have anything around the early degrees of a fixed sign, Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, or Aquarius, if you have anything around like 0, 1 degrees of a fixed sign, like I have the sun at 3 and I have Mercury at 4, Scorpio. So, I'm going to be feeling this Venus opposite Pluto. I'm really interested to see how this is going to show up in my life. But you need to pay attention. If you're a fixed sign, if you have early degree fixed sign placements this week, especially the next 4 or 5 days, can be very pivotal for you, okay? Or it can reveal or show you something about your relationships or your partnerships or something like this. And one of the things about Venus, right? Venus, we tend to we love relationships. Like we're a culture, a society that loves, especially in the States, we love relationships. But Venus also has a lot to do with other things. Venus is not just our romantic relationships. Venus is also connected to our friendships. Venus is also relationships with women, okay, or experiences of women. No matter if you're a man or a woman, Venus rules is connected to the planet of women. Venus is also connected to money and financial matters, especially like contracts and business deals. And Venus is also connected to the law and legal problems or legal issues. So these are all areas that, this could be showing up. So this may not be showing up in your relationship or your love life, but this can be showing up with money or financial matters for you, the Venus opposite Pluto and the Venus being aspected by Uranus, Saturn, right? Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and the moon. Or it can show up, what did I say? Legal issues or legal problems already? It can show up with like financial money issues, contractual issues, or even like there could be some kind of movement or there could be some kind of stimulation or some kind of activation around those things in your life. or it can show up around like legal matters, court cases, and stuff like that. So just want to be aware of that with Venus in Leo, who just went into Leo. Okay, but yeah, Venus and Leo, a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people have Venus and Leo. What's really interesting is like every now and then, right? Usually the sign of Cancer and the sign of Virgo are very quiet and very humble signs, especially when the sun is there. But what's interesting is you'll get these Cancers and you'll get these Virgo people that have Mercury, Venus, and Leo. And so they won't be the archetypal, humble, sweet, kind, or soft, or even more private or more personal Cancers or Virgos, right? And I always think about this with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, he had Venus and Leo, I believe. Michael Jackson, Richard. I think he had Venus and Mercury and Leo. Let me double check though. Michael Jackson. So what you get is like, that Venus, Mercury, and Leo. Let's see, did he have? Yeah, he had both in Leo. Yeah. Yeah, Michael Jackson had a sun in Virgo and he had Uranus, Venus, Mercury all in Leo, right? So what you get is because Leo's the sign of the celebrity, right? Leo's the sign of CEOs. Leo's a sign of leaders, bosses, authority figures. Leo is a sign of recognition, of attention. Leo's also connected to, parties and celebration. And I see this a lot. A lot of people have Leo placements, especially if they have Mercury, Venus, and Leo. Um, they become party planners or wedding planners, or they throw quinceañeras, or they're the people showing up with like the with the bouncy house at the Mexican at the Mexican parties or the Latino parties. Yep. Um, that's Leo people. That's Leo things. Right? As Leo things. So yeah, it's really cool because I think children that are born with this Venus, Mercury, and Leo over the next few weeks are, I think children that are born with this Venus, Mercury, and Leo, I think they can be popular. Or they can be famous, or they can love attention, or they can, be a celebrity in their own right, or they can have certain skills or certain talents that are very powerful, right? One of the other things that's really interesting about this is that that's one of my best friends. She's a Leo sun, and that girl should be an event planner. I tell her all the time. Yeah, Venus and Leo be transiting your fifth. Very cool. You and Michael Jackson have the same birthday. Super cool. So yeah, with that Venus, Mercury, and Leo, you know, children that are born with this, they could be entertainers or they can be celebrities or they can, be performers in some type of way. They could have some kind of ingrained talents. So, this is a beautiful time for exploring that. Venus and Leo, Venus, Mercury, and Leo is also a great time for exploring your talents, for exploring your identities or your identities for many of us, right? If you're a mutable sign, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, it's your identities. You're different people at different times, okay? I love it. I love mutable signs. Mutable signs, you never know who they're going to be from one day to the next, or you never know who they're going to be depending on what environment they find themselves in. Okay, they're the chameleons of the zodiac. Especially like you'll see this especially with like Gemini and Pisces. Gemini and Pisces are the ones that like they'll transform and they'll have a whole different name. You'll go to a club and everyone knows them as this name. You're like, who is that person? I don't even know what is that nickname that all these people know you as. Like, what? Who is that? Yep, that's a Gemini. That's a Gemini Pisces. Okay, but yeah, it's a good time for creative expression, for performance and things like that. Another interesting thing that I wanted to say is that if you go out in the morning right now, you'll actually be able to see, um, is Mercury getting closer to the sun? Mercury's getting closer to the sun. You'll be able to see Mercury, Venus, and the moon rising in the sky right now in the morning. But what does this mean? Mercury and Venus are morning stars right now. Okay. So Mercury and Venus, they're rising in the sky in the morning. That's when you can see them. So this means that Mercury and Venus are on the masculine side. of the sun. So if you have Venus and Mercury ahead of the sun, so if you have Venus and Mercury in front of your sun, you actually have a masculine Venus or Mercury. If you have Venus and Mercury behind the sun, so if you have an evening star Venus or Mercury, you have a feminine or receptive Venus or Mercury. So the fact that Venus and Mercury are ahead of the sun and they rise before the sun means that they're in a masculine energy right now. So what does this say? This is kind of like about action and activity and proactivity. And Venus and Mercury are encouraging us to kind of like move forward and go in new directions with things, right? Venus and Mercury being ahead of the sun, this is more about action and activity. It's more about exertion of energy. It's more about, like kind of new directions or shifting of things, right? I believe when Venus and Mercury are behind the sun and they're evening stars, this is more about receptivity. It's more about going inward, right? But there's this energy of kind of like needing to push ourselves outward right now, needing to exert energy, needing to go out in the world, try something new, attempt something new, kind of like push ourselves outward in a way with the Mercury Venus in Leo being morning stars right now, right? So I want you guys to kind of like lean into that and feel into that because you may see with this Mercury Venus being in Leo while the sun's in Virgo, you may see that there are some newly emerging things or newly emerging timelines, you know, uh, for you, happening for you, okay? Especially if you're mutable sign, I think all the signs are seeing it in different ways. Okay, so all right, let me go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen on. I'm gonna share my screen on here. So if you guys at this part of the live, if you guys go to my if you guys watch this on YouTube, you'll actually be able to see the chart that I'm going to be talking about. We're gonna kind of talk about the astrology of the week, and we're gonna go kind of like day by day and kind of dive into like specific transits. Okay. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're about an hour in. It's about 12:47, so we're making good time. You guys enjoying this? You guys having fun? Someone said they're an ambivert. Any questions so far? You guys have any questions for me? She said, yeah, I'm super quiet until I feel safe around people. Aren't you a Pisces rising like me? That's how I am. I'm kind of like I'm kind of like I'm a little awkward. You guys, everyone thinks that I'm very social and I'm very outgoing and that, I'm kind of like a loner. I'm kind of like a hermit. I'm a Pisces rising. I have a Capricorn moon. I have a Scorpio stellium. I have an eighth house Mars in Libra. I'm actually not that social. I do not like to go outside. I don't like to party. I don't like to go to events. I like the simplicity and the ease and the grace of being at home by myself. To be honest, a lot of you guys, there's a lot of misperception. You guys think like, oh my God, this guy. I'm not on YouTube live. I'm not on. I'm gonna start streaming on YouTube though. I think I'm gonna start streaming this on YouTube. I'm gonna go live on YouTube and Instagram at the same time. But the way it is now, I upload the recording onto YouTube after the fact. Someone said yes, same. I feel like a loner, but everyone thinks I'm their friend. That's a Pisces rising thing. We're like the universal friend. Because you know what it feels like? It feels like I'm a friend to everybody, but nobody's my friend. That's some Pisces delusion right there. That's so funny. Every Virgo rising that I've known, they've been really social. And they have like tons of friends and they're so like connected to the world. Every Virgo rising that I know. The reason is because Virgo rising has the moon in the 11th house of friends, Cancer, or they have not the moon, but they have Cancer. They have the moon ruling their 11th house of friends. And they also have Gemini in the 10th house. So, so Virgo rising is one of the rising signs that is outside. They are busy. They know everybody. Everybody knows them. They have friends everywhere, right? Like they meet someone in one night and all of a sudden that is their family member. That's their brother, that's their sister. Right? Like they turn strangers into family, is what they do. That's a Virgo rising thing. Someone said, yes, I like YouTube so I can look at my chart at the same time. Oh, I love that. Oh my God, I'm a chatty Cathy, 11th house. 11th house, Cancer Sun, and North Node. You know who else has their sun and their North Node in the 11th house? Donald Trump. And that man don't know how to shut up either. Anyways, I'm just reading the comments right now. For those of you who are watching back on YouTube, I'm just reading the comments on Instagram. Sagittarius in the 11th, you make friends easily. Yeah, when you have like Jupiter in the 11th, you have Venus in the 11th, you have the sun in the 11th or the moon there. It's like you're very social, you make a lot of friends. I'm everybody's coach, but most people know I can't reciprocate. Uh, I have YouTube Premium. Yeah, I have YouTube Premium too. Yeah, I don't. YouTube Premium is such a good investment because you don't have to pay for ads. You get to watch everything without like uninterrupted, and you can also minimize like YouTube, the app, and it'll be on a little window and it'll still play. Pluto in the 11th can be difficult with friendships, like traumatic relationships or traumatic friendships. Also, Pluto in the 11th, in the South Node there. So Pluto South Node and Pluto South Node and Saturn in the 11th, you can have really tragic experiences with friends. So when you have Pluto South Node or Saturn in the 11th house or even ruling the 11th, you can have friends that pass away or friends that die from like overdose or, from like some kind of traumatic experience, or like even like, they can off themselves, they can take themselves out. Like typically people have the South Node Saturn or Pluto in the 11th, they go through like these life-changing traumatic experiences with friends that are very karmic, that are very fated, that kind of are, going to expand their heart and teach them some important lessons about life and things. It could be tough though, you know. Friends could be an area of karmic lessons and karmic struggle for people, depending on what's going on with the 11th house. All right, so let's talk about the astrology of the week. So we're gonna start off with today. So we're gonna follow the moon for the week. We're gonna talk about the moon. I'm gonna use the moon as like the focal point, but then we're gonna talk about the transits, okay? So we start off the week this week with the moon in Libra. Today, August 25th, August 26th, and August 27th. The moon's gonna be in Libra. And today the moon is opposing Mars and Neptune. So we can feel the opposition with moon opposite Saturn because it's moon in Libra, which brings a focus. Libra brings a focus on relationships, on the law, on fairness, on justice, on equality, right? The moon in Libra is also because it's an air sign, it's about communication, it's about interaction, social interaction. So the focus with the moon in Libra over 25th, 26th, 27th, especially moon in Libra being disposited by Venus and Leo is are we getting recognition? Are we getting attention? Do we feel seen? Do we feel heard? Do we feel supported in our relationships? Is there balance? Is there fairness? Is there truth? Right? And if there's not, then there's some kind of action point. Like we may need to address some kind of injustice. We may need to address some kind of betrayal. Or we may need to talk about something that's very deep or very intense, right? But I do want to say that there can be, with today, specifically August 25th, 2025, with Moon in Libra opposite Saturn in Aries, the moon opposite Saturn can be about boundaries in relationships, expectations in relationships, the rules of engagement, right? Like, well, if you want this to work, this needs to change, right? These are my boundaries, right? These are the limitations. This is what I can or can't do for you, right? Moon opposite Saturn today also kind of opens up the door for rejection or for denial. So, something cannot work out the way that you wanted it to work out, right? Today and tomorrow. You can experience a moment of rejection. You can experience a delay or a setback, okay? You can experience a cancellation. So something that you had committed to, something that you had planned could get canceled, with Moon opposite Saturn. Also, we can just feel like time is moving a little bit slower. Time is feeling like it's, oh, she said, that's me. I lost my dad and lots of friends to suicide with Pluto on the 11th. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Saturn and Mars on the 11th. That's true. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I had to do a reading for a family that has dealt with the suicide recently in the last few months. And what do you call this? I've done readings for many people in that family to help them kind of understand like what happened. But what's interesting is as I'm doing readings for family members is you can see the passing of this person, right, in everyone's charts in different ways. It's so interesting. It's like fascinating, but as an astrologer, it's fascinating, but it's really sad. It's really heartbreaking, right? Loss, suicide, death, these things are very difficult. Um, but it's what astrology is. The fascinating thing about astrology is like you could see someone's passing not only in their own chart, but you can see it in other people's charts if you know how to look for it, right? So yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry about that, my love. Sorry that you had to deal with that. Sometimes we have these signatures in our chart, and that's like some people have very difficult charts. Like some people, right? They're gonna experience death or they're gonna experience loss and tragedy like in their life when it comes to people that are close to them or people that they love because there's like a certain lesson that they have to learn that's meant to deepen their heart. It's meant to teach them how to let go of things and how to like grieve, right? And um many people have these signatures, by the way. Many people have these signatures, like especially when there's a focus on houses 4, 8, and 12 in people's chart. If houses 4, 8, and 12 are really, really active in someone's chart, or if you see like a lot of water, if you see a lot of water signs, like a lot of Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, like those are people that have to deal with like loss. They have to deal. It's because the thing is, right? It's like you have to deal with emotion. You're here to learn to experience emotion in the full spectrum of emotion, like the gravity, the whole spectrum, like the whole, field of emotion, right? And so a lot of people that have those kind of signatures in their chart, they're like, why are people always passing away in my life? Or why am I always going through some kind of tragedy or some kind of loss? And even though that's their external, real world experience of it, right? It's like that's not where the value is. The value is actually in the internal experience of it. Like how you emotionally go through loss and tragedy and death and what that teaches you, what that teaches your heart, what that teaches your soul, right? Like there's these experiences that we have to go through in this lifetime that are going to hit us on a very deep soul level, and that's the only way God can reach us sometimes. And that's the only way, the divine spirit, God, whatever you want to say, to really reach the depths of our heart and really, teach us something very monumental, very pivotal about, emotion and feeling and love and compassion and things like that, right? Because that's all learning too. Emotions and our emotional experience is also something that's part of our learning. That's part of, what some of us are here to learn. And so we cannot take it as personal if we have signatures like that in our chart. But it's more common than you think though. People have signatures like that in their chart. It's more common than you think. So, South Node in Aries in the third, Virgo Sun eighth house, mental health can be heavy. Yeah. And you know what's interesting as well is what a lot of people don't realize actually is that the sun actually has a lot to do with mental health. Your sun placement. People that have a poorly placed sun can also experience mental health issues because the sun actually has a lot to do with consciousness and our stream of consciousness and our relationship with the self, right? So our relationship with our identity. So, a lot of people that have an afflicted sun, not just Mercury, but if you have an afflicted sun, then those people could also experience mental health issues. But it's not going to be so much around the mind. It's going to be more around like identity, self-expression, confidence, like who am I, like personal insecurity, like they'll have a weak sense of self or a weak identity, right? Or the way that they see themselves is in a very diminished light. They don't see themselves as strong. They don't see themselves as confident. They don't see themselves as successful. And this is one of the big things about the sun, right? Someone could have like they could be really successful, really famous, really popular, right? But if their son is afflicted, they don't see it and they don't feel it. They don't see themselves in that way, right? So like they could be like the most talented, the most gifted, the most successful person. And then when you talk to them because they have a debilitated son or they have a weak son, they're like, yeah, I could do better, or it's not that special, or I'm not that special, or blah blah blah. Like that is also an indication of an afflicted sun or a really weak sun. Like a lot of times people that have a weak sun, they're not able to feel or receive or recognize their own gifts, their own talents, their own magic. They're not able to celebrate themselves or some kind of disconnect that they have with the sun, right? Or they even feel like that's some other person, like imposter syndrome, like, oh yeah, that successful person, that's not me. Like that's me, but it's not me, right? Like there can be this weird identity disconnect that people have sometimes when they have a debilitated sun. When's a better time to have a conversation this week? Someone's asking when's a better time to have a conversation this week. I would wait until ma, 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 ma. I wanna roll with him, a hot man we will be. Little gambling is fun when you're with me. I love it. Russian roulette is not the same without a gun. Baby, if no, no. Oh, 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 oh. I love you hard. Tell me when I got. Okay. Sorry, I'm like, hold on, give me a second. My dog is crying. Gotta see why. And then I'll answer your question. What are you doing? What's going on here? Why are you crying? Huh? Why are you crying? Go over here. Here. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, I'm coming. Hold on. My dog was crying. I just gotta see why. All right, so a better day to have a conversation or for good outcomes when it comes to conversation. I think the best day this week to have a conversation is Thursday. Um, Mainly because even though the moon's in Scorpio, the moon is trining Jupiter, and I think that is good. I don't know why he was crying. He was in the kitchen like crying like a little baby. I think he was looking at the counter, so I think he wanted a snack or something. But yeah, I think the best day to have a conversation is Thursday, August 28th of this week. Especially if you're like looking for some kind of like cathartic release, so if you need to talk about something that's like really deep and serious and emotional in your like relationship, because the moon is trying Jupiter that day. The moon trine Jupiter is kind of giving like a lot of. Oh wait, actually, hold on. Is it Thursday or Friday? Thursday or Friday? Yeah, Thursday or Friday. I would actually do like Thursday night, Friday, Thursday night, Friday is probably when I would do it. If you guys want to have like a conversation. Yeah, Mercury's moving into a trine Chiron. So by the end of the week, we have Mercury exiting Leo. So Mercury's actually going to go into Virgo next week. But Mercury's exiting Leo this week, right? But Mercury's gonna try and Chiron before he leaves Leo. Mercury's at 20. I'm looking at Friday, August 29th, and Mercury is at, let me actually maximize this. Mercury's at 23 Leo, trine in a loose trine with Chiron at 26. But that trine is gonna perfect by the weekend, I believe, or by Sunday maybe, because Mercury's like moving really fast. He's moving closer to the sun. Yeah, the Sunday, August 31st. So yeah, so the end of this week on August 31st, um, Mercury's trining Chiron exactly, right? So if you could wait to have a conversation until this weekend that Mercury in Leo trine Chiron and Aries, I think that's going to be about a lot of people in general on Sunday, August 21st, you know. What's going on? What's going on with you, dude? Look, right here. You okay? What's going on with you? You're acting weird, my friend. I don't know, what are you doing? Okay, sorry about that. My dog is acting a little. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? Do you guys want to see him? Come here. Let me see. Oh, there he is. Say hi to little Gilbert. Say hi, Gilbert. Is he my doppelganger? Is this my twin? Yeah. Look at him. Look at the little baby boy. Look at the little baby boy. Look at the little baby boy. Why are you breathing so hard? Mwah. Mwah, mwah. Okay, I'm putting you down. Grumpy. You hear him? He's like, put me down. He has his limits. He has his limits. He has his limits. Um, if you have a yes, you can do a chart for your pet. Yeah, I've done charts for all my pets, and it's really cool to do a synastry chart with your pet, so you can see what your connection is with your pets. Like for instance, both of my dogs, this dog and my other dog that I had before him, a Gumby, they both are Libras, and they're both born on the same day. So their birthday's on October 14th, and that day. I was about to get beat up. Yes, I was. October 14th, right? Where the sun is at in Libra on that day is exactly opposite my Jupiter in Aries. So it's really fascinating to see how both of my dogs they have their sun opposite my Jupiter, which is why they bring me so much joy and why I love them so much and why I'm just like, oh, my little babies, right? Because that's what, when people are talking to our Jupiter, they bring out our good side. So Jupiter is our benevolent side, our compassionate side, our willingness to help and support and to be like a good mentor, a good father, a good mother, a good teacher. Like when people speak to our Jupiter and they bring out our Jupiter, they also bring us joy. Like we generally like we love them. Like we have fun with them. Like they make us happy, they make us smile, they make us feel good inside. They bring out our Jupiter, right? And that's actually what we want in our relationships. Not only do we want that with pets, but we also want that with friendships and with relationships too. Like when people speak to our Jupiter. And that's why Libra people love me all the time. Like Libra people, especially Libra women, you Libra rising women, they love the shit out of me. They can't get enough of me, okay? This is because Libra is the sign opposite of my Jupiter. And you'll notice this. You'll notice that the sign that opposes your Jupiter, those people are going to love you. And you're going to be so sweet and so kind with them, and they're going to bring out your good side. Like if you have Jupiter in Cancer, Capricorns are going to love you. Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Moon, Capricorn Venus people are going to love the crap out of you if you have Jupiter in Cancer. If you have Jupiter in Pisces, Virgos are going to love you because your Jupiter is opposite of them, right? And you show up as Jupiter to them. You show up as being kind and loving and benevolent, and you want to help them, and you want to, you're a guide to them. And a lot of times you'll see this, like you'll be a mentor, you'll be a teacher, you'll be a coach to them in some type of way, right? Or they'll hate you. Well, yeah. That's funny. Well, if they hate you, it's because you're calling them out on like morals or ethics, right? Because Jupiter is also a planet that is moral and ethical and righteous. And so sometimes you'll play Jupiter in someone's life because you're here to hold them accountable. You're here to be a judge. You're here to, be a moral, ethical, wise person in their life. And, many people aren't ready. Yeah, same thing with Jupiter and Virgo. Yeah, Pisces like men. Yeah. And you'll see a lot of men that you like, they'll have a sun or something opposing your Jupiter. Like for instance, I think Meg the Stallion and was it Meg that had? No, 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 no. She has Jupiter and Sag. Yeah, she has Jupiter and Sag. No, Meg and Clay Thompson. His sun is opposing her moon, I believe. They both have a Leo moon. What's something that I think his sun opposes her moon or something like that, from what I remember. But yeah, the sign opposing your Jupiter, you're gonna like have a lot of fun. Or they're gonna really like you, you're gonna like them, or you're gonna be like a benevolent influence. Anyways, let's get back to the astrology of the week, okay? You guys got me going on tangents. So yeah, so Thursday evening, Friday, Moon in Scorpio, trine Jupiter, really good for emotional revelation, emotional purging, really good for forgiveness, and also having deep emotional. Clay Thompson is not a Pisces, my love. Clay Thompson's an Aquarius. His birthday is on Valentine's Day. No, I'm sorry, his birthday is the 8th. February 8th of 1990. Anyways, so deep emotional purging, deep emotional self-expression. If you need to like have an emotional conversation, if you need to express something, if you need to like reveal your feelings to someone and you want to do that and you want it to go well, Thursday night, I'm sorry, Thursday night going to Friday morning. So that would be, what date is that? That is the 28th and the 29th. Okay. Evening of the 28th, going 29th. But if you need to have a conversation with someone that is more about like being seen, being heard, what you're not getting, or even if you need to have a conversation where you're like needed to address power dynamics, so if you're needing to address some kind of woundedness or some kind of healing, and it's a little bit more about, what needs to change or what needs to be different in our relationships or like actions that we need to take in our with relationships in our relationship, whatever. That will be on Sunday when Mercury is trining Chiron in Aries, or yeah, Mercury is in Leo trining Chiron in Aries, and the moon's going to be in Sag, right? So this week, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the moon's in Libra. From Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the moon is in Scorpio. And then Saturday, Sunday, we have the moon in Sagittarius. And then we have the moon in Sag. So as the moon goes into Sag on Saturday, I believe it's on Saturday. Is it Saturday? Let's take a look. Um, as the moon goes into Sag on Saturday, yeah, the moon's gonna go into Sag around like 2 p.m. global global standard time. I don't even know what global standard time is, but we're just gonna say it GST, okay? Or GMT. I don't even know what that means. But anyways, midday Saturday, the moon goes into Sagittarius. And that's our waxing square from our new moon. That's our halfway point. So, this the moon goes into Sag and opposes Uranus and Gemini, and that's our square from our new moon. So, this weekend could be a little dramatic, a little exciting, a little chaotic, some unexpected shifts and changes. Okay. Um, yeah, when the moon's in Sag. Let's keep talking though. Fun for the holiday. Yeah, the moon in Sag is gonna be, yeah, a lot of people leaving. What holiday we got going on this upcoming weekend? Because a lot of people, the moon in Sag is like over the weekend is like people traveling, people leaving to go very far, people going, Jupiter in Cancer has been about people visiting family, and your birthday's on Thursday. Oh, I love that for you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy. All you Virgos with your birthdays. My mom's birthday is coming up too on the 9th. We got Labor Day. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny that we have Labor Day during Virgo season? And Virgo is a sign of what? Labor. work, your job, your day to day. And then what color do we wear on Labor Day? We wear white. And white is the color of what? Purity, cleanliness. Virgo, the maiden, purity, cleanliness. Okay. I hope you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. We wear white on Labor Day. Do you get it? So do you see like Labor Day, Virgo season, white, purity, Virgo, and you guys get that connection? We make it, we build, are we connecting that bridge? Okay. You guys stepping, are you guys smelling what I'm stepping in? We wear white on Labor Day because it's Virgo season. That's why. I don't actually know why. Let's wear red. No. No, you can wear pink this Labor Day because Mars in Libra. On Labor Day, we wear pink. You can also wear like orange because Venus is in Leo. So if you want to wear something bright, you want to wear gold, you want to wear white and gold, pink and gold on Labor Day, that's okay. That's fine. I'll give you permission. The Soul Sage gives you permission. Okay. Hot pink, Venus and Leo. She said, and that's why you can't wear white after Labor Day because Libra and Scorpio and Sag seasons are the unpure signs. Well, pink is actually Libra. Pink is connected to Libra. That's Libra. And also Pisces. Pisces and Libra love the color pink. Those two signs, Pisces and Libra, especially when you see they have both of those signs, like when people have both of the signs, Libra and Pisces, oh, pink is like their favorite color. They love pink. They got everything in pink. They'll have a car, they have a light pink car. Well, Pisces likes like the more pastel colors, like more pastel pink, where Libra likes the more like solid, bold type of pink. Venus. No, Venus's color is pink. Color green is ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules with the color green. A lot of people think that Venus is associated with the color green because of the sign of Taurus, but no, actually. We actually Mercury rules with the color green. You got to think about it, right? Like we use, even though money is green, right? Money is just legal tender. It's only used for exchange. Money has no inherent value in of itself. So money is actually kind of like a mercurial thing, you know. It's actually connected to the sign of Mercury. But yeah, green is ruled by Mercury. This is why you'll see a lot of Geminis and Virgos. Gemini and Virgo love the color green. Okay, let's keep going with the astrology of the week because we're gonna be here forever at the rate we're going and all the tangents I keep going on. You guys got me talking about it. You guys got me talking. See, that's the thing about astrology really caters to my ADD because like the way astrology works, like because it's like in reference to everything and you can just like, astrology is like, astrology is a science of everything. The science of the relationship of everything, right? Like it's so easy to go from like talking about colors, talking about music, talking about relationships, and then talking about like it's just so easy to like change to shift topics and to go on a tangent because astrology is like that. The way astrology works, it's kind of like that. It's a very ADD science or it caters to people that have ADD for sure. Just because, I think astrology is the science of like how everything is related, to the planets and the signs and and the houses and stuff. It's so cool. Anyways, let's keep going. All right. So we were talking about the moon in Libra on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let me go back here. Let me go back. All right. So let's go back here. So we were talking about the moon in Libra, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, so tomorrow on Tuesday, ma, 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 ma. Monday, August 25th. Back to the current moment. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me look at something. I'm gonna put in where I'm changing something right now on here. Okay, yeah, the moon's in Libra. So tomorrow, sorry guys, those of you on YouTube, we're gonna have to rewatch this. I'm just they're gonna have to see my screen going crazy. So tomorrow on Tuesday, right? We have the moon hit Mars in Libra on August 26th of 2025 on Tuesday. And so and then Venus she actually goes to 1 degree Leo tomorrow, and she perfects her opposition to Pluto and Aquarius tomorrow on Tuesday, August 26th. So we have Moon, Mars, and Libra together. We have Venus opposite Pluto, okay, tomorrow. Um, this is kind of tomorrow's like a little bit of a dramatic day. Tomorrow's a little intense. Tomorrow with Moon, Mars, we may be feeling more frustrated, more irritable. We may be feeling a little bit more like we want to call someone out. We want to call out an injustice. We want to, we're just feeling combative, If you're a cardinal sign as well, I do want to tell you, especially if you're a Libra, Aries, rising, or moon or sun, you got to watch for this Mars and Libra transit right now, okay? Because this can be like even tomorrow, right? You can experience a moment of conflict or a moment of anger, or you can also get hurt. You could end up burning yourself, or you get in an accident, or you can, some glass can break, and all of a sudden, you got cuts on your hands, or you got cuts on your, arms or your face or something. So you just got to be a little careful with the Moon Mars thing. So Mars opens up the door for experiences that are violent, that are dangerous, or that are, where there's too much heat, there's too much irritation, or there's some kind of conflict. So I just want you to be very aware of this energy. A lot of people end up hurting themselves during a Mars transit, especially when Mars transits their rising sign or when Mars transits the moon. So if you have a moon in Libra, Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, or if you are a Libra rising or even an Aries rising, because Mars is still opposing your first, right? If you're an Aries rising, because Mars is in the seventh opposing first. I want you to be very aware of this like Mars transit, especially tomorrow, okay? Because Mars transit your rising or transit your moon can be a wound to your body, like you getting hurt, or even if you have like an inflammatory illness or sickness. When Mars transits your rising or transits your moon or even transits the dispositor of your first house. So let's say you're a Cancer rising, and let's say you're a Cancer rising with the moon in Libra, and Mars is transiting your moon, right? Well, because you're a Cancer rising, the rising sign rules the body, and the moon is a dispositor for your body, right? The moon rules over your rising sign, your first house. So if you have a Mars transit to your moon, well, guess what? That can be you getting hurt. That could be you, getting burned, or that could be you getting, the worst form would be like a splinter, right? Or I mean, the most lighthearted experience, or the would be like a splinter, a little cut or something. But sometimes people can undergo surgery, or they can get in a car accident, or they could deal with something violent. They could get in a fight or argument during that transit with that transit. So, but it's the body. If you already are dealing with, like I was saying, if you're already dealing with health issues or inflammation issues, Mars transits expands the inflammation, adds more heat, right? So if you have IBS, your IBS will get triggered and be worse, right? If you have arthritis, your arthritis will be worse, right? Because arthritis is an inflammatory disease. If you have headaches or migraines, Mars, guess what? It'll get worse, right? Yeah, Libra moon, your eczema will flare up. Yeah, your eczema. right? That's inflammation of the skin, right? So eczema, I don't know, eczema is kind of complex, but it does have a lot to do with the nervous system. It has a lot to do with, your liver and your kidneys and things like this. But yeah, so you just want to watch for inflammation tomorrow, especially if you're a cardinal sign, Libra, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, you have your sun, moon, your rising there. So what's interesting is if you have your sun, right? So this is a little bit different. So when it comes to aspects, when it comes to Mars transit the sun, let's say you're an Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, or Libra sun, okay? And Mars goes into square your sun or oppose your sun. It's different. It's not going to be so emotional, so about your body or so about your relationships, which is moon. It's more about leadership, authority figures, your public life, and your identity, right? So a lot of times when Mars comes into harsh aspect with your sun, Mars in transit comes in a harsh aspect with your sun, you're going to have a fallout with the boss or an argument with the boss, or you can get pulled over by a cop. You can have a very difficult experience with a cop, or you can have to fight for yourself out in the public world in some type of way, right? This can look like a battle at work. This can look like a battle at the street. There can be some kind of authority figure that you come up against or that attacks you in some type of way. But it's more about a public externalization of that energy. The sun is public, the sun is external, the sun is your outside world, the sun is your leaders, your bosses, the authority figures in your life, right? So it's different. It's a different experience or it can manifest in a different way. So if you are a Libra sun, if you're a Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer sun, you just want to watch out for that Mars square opposition or conjunction to you, okay? Because cardinal signs, right? They're the ones that are being impacted by Mars's transit in Libra, and there's some kind of inflammation, there's some kind of attack, there's some kind of irritation, there's some kind of war, maybe a possible situation of conflict that they have to deal with Mars transiting Libra, and specifically tomorrow, because Moon is conjunct Mars tomorrow. At the same time, Venus is opposing Pluto. So tomorrow seems like a very dramatic day. August 26th of 2025 seems like a very dramatic day for relationships and partnerships. It seems like it's a very intense day tomorrow. Okay. There's a lot of we're wanting to hold people accountable. There's injustice. We're not okay with our relationships. It feels like we're having to address things that are unbalanced, that are unfair, that are unjust in our relationships and things like that. Moon, Mars, and Libra. Right at the same time, Venus is opposite Pluto exactly. Venus is at 1 degree of Leo tomorrow, and Pluto is at 1 degree of Aquarius tomorrow. So, like I was saying in the beginning of the live with Venus and Leo for the beginning part of this week, opposing Pluto, there's an excavation, there's a revelation, there's deep epiphanies that we're having around the realm of relationships. And we're either purging or releasing them, or we're evolving and we're going deeper in our relationships in some type of way. Okay. So tomorrow, Moon in Libra. Okay. The really cool thing about tomorrow, though, is that the Moon does square Jupiter. So we love Moon square Jupiter. Mars is also coming into a square with Jupiter, but we'll talk about that when we get there. When I get there, if it happens this week, I'll talk about it. But if it doesn't happen this week, happens next week, I'll talk about it next week. Okay. But yeah, Moon square Jupiter is about excess, is about opportunity, but it could be rushed. It can be, also Moon square Jupiter, you want to watch out for overindulgence. It's one of the big shadows of the Jupiter, Venus, and Cancer over the last few weeks that we had. Because everyone was like, oh, Jupiter, Venus, and Cancer. Oh my God, it's so great. Magic, expansion, opportunity. But the shadows of Venus and Jupiter together is overindulgence. Too much of things, overconsumption, right? Wanting too much, asking too much, needing too much, overspending, overeating, just doing too much, right? That's the shadows of when Venus and Jupiter are in a conjunction or they're together. So these are some of the shadows that we're having to address tomorrow with the Moon square Jupiter is like, are you doing too much of something? Are you over consuming? Are you overspending, right? Are you just overly emotionally investing in something that's not really giving back, right? So we just want to be aware of that Moon square Jupiter um, in transit tomorrow. Doesn't it manifest positive in any way tomorrow for Libra moon or likely to be rough? It could be positive. Yeah, this is just the general, this is just a general thing. I'm making everyone aware that Moon and Mars are together. So this could be like you go to the gym, you start going to the gym, or you win a battle, you win. Let's say Moon Mars could be like you overcoming an enemy or you winning, right? So that could be a good outcome, or you getting clarity on a relationship or something like that. But yeah, new friends, new connections, that's been a big theme. Okay. Um, all right, let me see if there's anything else that I'm like noticing about tomorrow that needs special mention. Not really. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to Wednesday. So Wednesday, the moon leaves Libra and the moon goes into Scorpio. So on Wednesday, there's a big opportunity for healing and for kind of, going healing the self and going within our emotions and kind of, addressing some of the things that we've been feeling. We have moon opposite Chiron on Wednesday before the moon goes into Scorpio. Okay. Once we get into these seasons, like Virgo, Libra, Scorpio season, these seasons, they tend to reveal and expose a lot in the realm of relationships, right? Because you got to think about it. After the sign of Virgo, we get to Libra and Scorpio, right? Libra and Scorpio, which are the more difficult. I wouldn't say more difficult, actually. No, I wouldn't say more difficult, but they're the seasons that really focus on the other. They have us focus on the other, right? Like Scorpio is like other people's money, and it's also like our deep emotional investments and entanglements with others, like our financial entanglements with others, right? How we've invested in certain relationships and partnerships over a long period of time. That's like Scorpio, and then Libra is the relationship. It's our relationships with others, like the rules, the conditions of engagement, the expectations, the relationship that we have with our committed long-term relationships with our spouse and things like that, right? So, those signs have us focus on those things. So that's why Moon in Libra, Moon in Scorpio this week is having us focus on this relationship realm, especially, Monday through Friday, as the moon is transiting Libra and the moon is transiting Scorpio, or moon transiting Libra, the moon is transiting Scorpio. So yeah, so Wednesday we have Moon Chiron. Um, opposite each other. And this is it's very healing. When the moon is opposing Chiron, we're being gifted an opportunity to really go deep within ourselves and to heal this woundedness that we've had around whatever Chiron and Aries has been about for us, and Chiron and Aries has really been this kind of like narrative and this story about wounded men and our wounded relationships with men, and our woundedness around anger, and our woundedness around power, and our woundedness around authority, and even our woundedness around our own masculinity, right? And I think a lot of people have been having to reckon with some kind of woundedness that they've had around the sign of Aries. And we've been seeing a lot of, wounded men doing crazy things, kind of getting emotionally triggered, doing violent things. Like there's been this kind of reoccurring narrative, this reoccurring theme that we've had with Chiron and Aries around men that are deeply wounded in some type of way. And they are, their wounding gets triggered and they do something violent. They do something angry. They do something self-destructive, right? They cause people pain. And this has been like something that we've been having to address. But I think, internally within ourselves, individually, it's a beautiful time, Wednesday, moon opposite Chiron, to really ask ourselves, what is my relationship with masculine energy? And I think that's been a big thing that a lot of women have been having to ask themselves. And because it's really interesting. Like I feel like love and what love is about and relationships and what that is about, like what that means. What is love? What is marriage? What is relationships? Like what is the future of those things? Those things are all kind of going through like growing pains. And it's interesting because, we have this in this timeline right now that we're in, a lot of women are they've been able to step in their masculinity in this like beautiful new way that the times have allowed them to. But it's been tough because, a lot of women that are masculine, okay, or they've been allowed, society has allowed masculine women to reach these positions of power and to be successful and to be dominant and to like do their thing. They're having a really hard time, figuring out gender dynamics in relationships, and they're having a really hard time, trying to find that partner, that spouse or whatever that is going to honor and respect their authority, their power, their masculinity, right? But also finding a partner that will allow them to be in their feminine, or to where they'll feel safe to be in their feminine, right? Like that's been a big thing. But I think it's interesting because, the nature of relationships is evolving and changing, and our gendered expectations in relationships are changing, and I think, the thing is like we don't live in this timeline anymore where, men are doing man things and women are doing women things. Like, no, there's this like kind of rigid divide between what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman, or what is masculinity and this femininity, this like rigid divide that we really got with the Pluto and Leo, the Pluto and Cancer generations, right? And it started to change a little bit with the Pluto and Virgo, but I still think the Pluto and Virgo generation is a little attached to those kind of like gendered, those really strict gendered paradigms and stuff. It's like those of us with like the Pluto and Libra, the Pluto and Scorpio, the Pluto and Sag, the Pluto and Capricorn, like those of us that have, you know, these different Plutos, we're not about that life. Like we're not trying to do these like rigid gender roles. Many of us aren't, right? Some of us are, but many of us aren't. And so, we're having to really ask ourselves, like, what is the new direction of like relationships? Like, what is the modern relationship look like? What are its values? And how do we find balance and harmony in like in gender expression, in responsibility in the relationships, like in the roles that we play? Like those things are undergoing evolution right now. And I got a download actually. I actually got a download last night about this, and I want to share it with you all because I think it's I think it's like brilliant. So we're gonna have like newly emerging career field, or like work positions and job positions and like job opportunities and stuff that are gonna focus on bringing people together in like relationships. That's going to be a big thing of the next 20 years. So, like dating shows, like, localized dating groups or clubs, like, you're going to see in the age of Aquarius, the age of air, where we have, Uranus in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius, okay, and Saturn in Aries right now, Neptune Aries. There's a focus on relationships and connecting the right people and being connected to the right people in the age of air. So there's going to be these like newly emerging jobs and career opportunities around getting people partnered, finding the right match, like when it comes to partnerships and relationships. So not just that, but also friendships. So we're gonna see more of these kind of like dating clubs, dating groups, dating shows. Like we're gonna see more of these, you know, people, whatever, clubs, groups, dating coaches and things like that, that are gonna be facilitating relationships. There's going to be a lot of people facilitating relationships. And that's going to be like, if you want to meet someone, you're going to join this club, you're going to join this group, and you're going to, it's going to be more structured and it's going to be more organized and stuff like that, right? Like, because we're moving in like society's moving in this direction where connection, communication, and relationship building, and information and knowledge, and like that's the direction. Like, that's where we're going, right? Like someone said, Love Island is a wild dating show. But think about it. Think about how, right? In this time period, one of the biggest shows recently that we've had is Love. Everyone was tuned into Love Island. Everyone was tuned into Love Island, right? Because love is not this kind of like It's going to become this, it's going to become a business. More so. Love is going to be more of a business. Love is more of like a market now. It's like love is becoming like a marketplace. And we need people to facilitate that. We need people to facilitate the meeting of other people. Like we needed people to facilitate relationships, right? And so we're going to see more of a focus on that in this age that we're merging into. So if you're someone that wants to become like a dating coach, or if you want to like start a company where, it's like a open dating company, or it's like where people submit their profiles and you're like a matchmaker, they seriously consider that, okay? Seriously consider that because I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you, that's where a lot of money in the future is going to be able to be made. Okay? So if you feel that, if that calls to you, where'd my doggy go? Listen to that, respond to that, okay? Because that's where a lot of money is going to be flowing, and that's where a lot of business is going to be growing. That like matchmaking. Love is a marketplace. Oh. Libby, what are you talking about? Libra rules the marketplace. Libra is like, baby, what do you got to offer me? Libra, the sign that rules over partnerships and marriages. Libra is also the sign of business. What do you have to offer me? What are you selling? What are you offering? Right? What value are you adding to my life? That's what Libra asks. In I think it's in China. In China, I don't know if you guys have seen me post this on my stories. There's a park, right? Where parents go and they bring like a little resume of their single child and they post up in the park. And so there's this park where there's all these parents with single kids and they're trying to find a match for their single child. And they don't bring no pictures. They just bring like a resume of like their job, their income, what they do, right? It's literally a marketplace. Like parents go to this park to exchange information and to try to get set up their single kids for a date. Libra is a marketplace. That's what it is. You know? Indian matchmaking. Yeah, look at India. India, yeah. Auntie Sima is expensive. 10K just to be on a list. Guaranteed to find a match. Exact, baby. It's a business. You're gonna see this, like it's gonna become so clear over the next 20 years that love is a business. And that when you partner with someone, it's not just, we have this like we're very Venus and Pisces. Like the United States is very like, oh, I want to love someone that's like my soulmate, and we're like chasing this fantasy and chasing this dream. But you got to think about it. Love in other societies, like in European society, like especially, like if we're talking about like, royal society, or, when there was like kings and queens and things like that, and there's like the eras, love and marriage is how society is structured, right? Think about it. Society is structured with marriage. Like in China, if you go to China, right? Like they're always trying to like they're always trying to find them like moms and aunties and stuff. They're always trying to find their daughter or their husband or their daughter or their son a wife or spouse, because marriage is the avenue that kind of continues on a familial structure, right? Or that continues on the name of a family. It's all through marriage. Marriage is the continuation point for the family name. And so marriage is like it's how society is built. It's how society is structured, right? Marriage is the foundation to the modern family structure, right? So it's like that institution, it's transactional. It can be very, it doesn't have to be, but it's very transactional. But we're very delusional about our relationship with marriage here in the States. We don't want to see it as like transactional, but when you go to other countries, it is very transactional. It's very like you're gonna marry this man because we're gonna join our families together, or because your dad is doing business with my dad in some type of way, or like it's like we get especially when these cultures that have a history of arranged marriages, they're very strategic, and marriage is a very political thing, right? So just something to keep in mind, something to be aware of, okay? Because I really don't think that we fully understand, like we see marriage and partnership in such a very Pisces way, in a very delusional, fantastical, oh, my soulmate, oh my God, this person loves me. And we're searching for this like this fantasy of love, but marriage is Libra. Okay, it's Libra where Saturn exalts. It's a business exchange, it's a contract, it's an investment of time that you're getting into when you marry somebody. And we tend to think about it's about, love and affection and romance. And yeah, it's about that, but it's a business exchange, my love. You get it, right? When you marry someone, you file taxes jointly. All the way that you get viewed in the eyes of the state and the eyes of the government financially changes when you get married. You get all these different benefits. You get tax breaks when you get married. It's not just about this like surface level perception that we have of it, right? It's not. Something to consider. Let me go get a napkin really quick. Give me a second. Yes. I got blueberry muffin on my fingers. I got blueberry muffin on my fingers. Okay, so all right, let's continue our conversation. I could go on talking about the institution of marriage for hours. So yeah, so Moon in Libra opposing Chiron and Aries, right, on Wednesday. This opportunity for healing and to opportunity, it's like addressing woundedness that we have with our relationship with the men, with our relationship with masculinity, with our relationship with power, our relationship with authority, right? Our relationship with love. So many of us, we have a wounded relationship with love. We have a wounded, like our experience and what we've gone through when it comes to love has been very tragic and very sad and very wounded. Well, can we heal that? Can we let that all go? Can we find grace and can we find release and peace with that, right? That's what Wednesday is asking us, the 27th of August, as the moon in Libra is opposing Chiron. Okay, so then the moon goes into Scorpio midday around 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Um, let's see. And then by yeah, by end of day Wednesday, the moon goes into Scorpio. And then this moon in Scorpio, right? As the moon goes into Scorpio, it squares Pluto and it squares Venus, right? So, Wednesday, we're kind of being we're having to address something associated with the Venus opposite Pluto in some type of way. Moon Mars will be conjoining at 13 degrees Libra, which is actually my Libra placement. So I'm going through a lunar return. Oh no, a Mars return is what I meant to say, my bad. I was looking at the moon. Yeah, I'm going through a Mars return. They conjoin at 13 degrees Libra. So my Mars return. Ooh, I should take a look at that. Hold on, let me look at this chart real quick. Oh no, 12 degrees Libra. They conjoin at 12 degrees Libra, not 13. 12 Pisces degree. But then the moon goes to 13 degrees Libra. For those of you watching right now, I'm sorry. Or for those of you who are going to be watching this later on, I'm sorry that this is probably giving you a headache. Let me just reset the time here. There we go. So it's not all bouncing around. There we go. Okay, cool. All righty. All right, let's keep going. So moon in Scorpio. The moon's going to square Pluto and square Venus as it goes into Scorpio on Thursday. And this is a moment of revelation, excavation, epiphany, what we were talking about. So there can be some kind of amplification, or there could be something that comes in our awareness around our relationships, Venus opposite Pluto, and the moon in Scorpio squaring that. So we have moon, Pluto, Venus, and a T square on Thursday morning. So if you feel very intense, if you feel very emotional, if you feel very passionate, if you feel very expressive, if you feel like you got to confess your love for somebody, well, you could blame that on the moon in Scorpio, squaring Pluto and squaring Venus and Leo, um, on Thursday. Alrighty. So let's keep going. We're at 20% here. We're at 1:50 p.m. All right, we're doing good on time. Cool. Alrighty. And then, and then, so we have the moon sextile the sun, which is really cool on Thursday. That's a really nice aspect because we're kind of incorporating things from our new moon in Virgo, and we're feeling this like expansion and this growth. This week there's a lot of growth and expansion, right? We're coming out of a new moon cycle squaring Uranus. So this week, especially I think during the moon in Scorpio, we're kind of putting new things into action, or we're implementing plans, or we're kind of getting started with new things. We're going a new direction, We're kind of cleaning things up. We're picking things back up. We're getting organized, right? It's our first full week in Virgo season. So we're kind of doing what the sun in Virgo wants us to do. So there's definitely a focus on our Virgo house, right? But yeah, the moon in Scorpio is kind of like we're moving forward. We have moon sextile the sun on Thursday. Sun at 5, the moon's going to be at 5. So we're feeling this kind of like integration of this new moon energy, and we're feeling more inspired, more motivated and stuff like that. Okay, come Thursday. So then on Friday, the moon is still in Scorpio. But so the moon goes into Scorpio, or the moon's still in Scorpio on Friday. But what we get on Friday is we get the moon trining Jupiter. So Friday feels really good. What's interesting is the moon trines Jupiter on Friday. The moon's also going to move into a square with Mercury in Leo, who's at 22 degrees on Friday by midday, or yeah, midday going to the evening time. Actually, around evening time, the moon's going to square Mercury. So we just want to watch out for like miscommunication issues or some, tense communication stuff. Um, we may need to address the ways our emotional needs are not getting met or something, or but I do think moon trine Jupiter, moon square Mercury, I think this could be like opportunities or good news or some kind of growth or expansion that comes in, some kind of blessing or gift that Jupiter can give us, coming out of this new moon, whatever this new moon may, the invitation, because we did have Jupiter and Venus in the 11th house away from the new moon in Virgo, if you put Virgo on the rising. So, there is some kind of like opportunity, expansion, growth. There are new things coming in with this new moon that are kind of like lucky, or that are unexpected, or that feel really nice. And so I think, yeah, with the moon trine Jupiter on Friday in that square to Mercury, we want to. Maybe there's things around Jupiter or Mercury things. So this could be around jobs, this could be around schooling, education. Maybe you're waiting for, an approval letter, if you're applying to schools or jobs or something. Maybe you're waiting for a conversation, a callback, an approval letter, or you're waiting for a yes or something, right? This is definitely going to be people going on interviews, though. I definitely feel like Friday is moon square Uranus is kind of, or moon square Mercury is kind of giving me, we're talking to people on Friday. We're having very important conversations. We're socializing, we're interacting with people on Friday, as well, right? With moon trine Jupiter, also leaving to go visit family, very cathartic emotional experiences with family and stuff like that, moon trine Jupiter in Cancer. So I really love it. I like this energy. I think Friday is one of the best days of this week, particularly. I think Thursday, Friday. I think the moon in Scorpio is it's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. So then on Saturday, August 30th, the moon goes into Sag, and it's at 1 degree Sagittarius around 5, 6 p.m. August 30th, depending on your time zone. So Moon opposite Uranus, we may feel like we want to have fun. We may feel very excited this weekend. We want to do something fun, do something new, we want to hang out with, it's like that Moon in Sag opposite Uranus and Gemini. And it's this is the square from our new moon. We just want to be aware of accidents, unexpected shifts and changes with our schedule. We may be feeling very frantic and very anxious and very excited. Saturday, there is Moon opposite Uranus. So this is Moon is also sextile Pluto, trining the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. Moon is opposing Uranus, right? So that this whenever like we have these transits, when like Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus get activated, like Moon is talking to Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, right? All at the same time. But the Moon Uranus opposition is what we're going to feel the most. Um, it's like we're breaking through into a new reality. There's like we're moving forward in a new direction. Look what Marissa said. So Marissa said that she's taking a beginner mediumship workshop on Saturday. Yes, right? Because Moon in Sag, opposite Uranus and Gemini, the new moon in Virgo squaring Uranus and Gemini, our new timeline is coming. Like we're getting insight or we're moving forward towards a new timeline on Saturday in some type of way. We're getting messaging, we're getting insight, we're seeing something actually manifest, we're starting something, we're beginning something, we're doing something new, we're doing something fresh on Saturday, right? The new moon in Gemini, or I'm sorry, the new moon in Virgo squaring, this is the waxing square from our new moon. And then the moon's also hitting that opposition with Uranus. It's sextiling Pluto and Aquarius. It's trining Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. So that moon trine Saturn tells us we're building a new foundation in some type of way. We're, investing in some type of new thing that we're very passionate about or that we're very excited about, right? Or that is going to be pivotal or a big part of something that we're growing in the future, right? It's like there's a foundational thing that we're doing. And I think we need to really listen to that, pay attention to that. Saturday specifically, all but this 2 weeks, this new moon in Virgo cycle for the next 2 weeks, right? But yeah, I like this energy. This seems fun. This seems excitable, exciting. I'm looking for the right word. Fun, exciting, expansive. We're growing. The moon is being disposited by Jupiter in Cancer. So the moon in Sag is ruled by Jupiter in Cancer, right? Um, who's in his exaltation right now. So there's definitely like expansion and growth. Also, the other thing I just realized is that the moon in Sag, Saturday, going into Sunday, is also trining Venus. This, so we have this beautiful grand trine. We actually have a sacred kite in the sky. There's a lot of geometry. You guys, so for those of you on that are going to be watching this back on YouTube, so this is our sacred kite. So we have Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Moon, and the anchor of the sacred kite is Venus. We also got this grand trine, Saturn, Neptune, between Moon and Venus, right? There's a lot of sacred geometry in the sky right now. That's kind of like initiating us into this like new timeline, but we're really feeling this Saturday. This Saturday seems very pivotal. It seems very monumental this weekend in general. It's giving us kind of insight into the future or what's to come, or we're being motivated to expand and grow in some type of way. And we're learning, right? It's interesting because the moon is Sagittarius is like new wisdom, new knowledge, right? Contact with foreign cultures, contact with foreign things, like things that are out that it's like we're getting new information or new experiences that are adding to this new identity, this new character, this new lifestyle, this new timeline that we're entering, right? That's what it feels like with the moon in Sag on Saturday and Sunday. So, but we just, moon opposite Uranus, it can feel very chaotic. It can feel very unexpected. We may have to confront our fear of change, of the unknown. We need to lean into this kind of like wild Uranian energy this weekend. We need to be open to new experiences. We need to give ourselves permission to meet strangers and things like that, right? Like, as Uranus is a planet um, that rules over strangers and it rules over the random and the unexpected. But the beautiful thing about Uranus is like many times for many people, Uranus will bring in experience or bring in a stranger that will help you out or support you or do something really cool for you, right? Or give you an opportunity in a way that you couldn't have seen coming. So, we really want to be open to that this weekend, No one is a stranger. No one is a stranger. We're all divinely connected. Also, by Saturday, Venus is at 6 degrees with a 5 degrees of separation from Pluto, who's at 1. So this Venus opposite Pluto thing, the energy is like dying down from that opposition by Saturday going into Sunday. 5 degrees is like, once we start getting to like 5 or 6 degrees of separation, we're like not feeling it anymore. But, we just want to be mindful of that Venus Pluto opposition at this time, or this week. And then so Sunday, the moon separates from this trine with Venus. And the moon is in the middle degrees. So moon is still, yeah, Venus goes to 7. So the moon is still trining Venus on Sunday. And then we wake up on Monday morning with the moon in Sag and the moon making this beautiful sextile to Mars. So actually on Sunday, what I like is the moon is going to be sextiling Mars as it's separating from Venus. So seems like a very social, very fun, very exciting weekend. The weekend is feeling very, very expansive. It's feeling like we're, coming into contact with new things and stuff. So I'm excited. Ra says there are no mistakes, but there are surprises. Exactly. Someone said, in my chart, I have an eighth house Libra moon, trine Neptune, Uranus, and Aquarius in the 12th. Oh, that's definitely a mediumship signature. Eighth house moon, trining Uranus, Neptune in the 12th. That's definitely talking a spirit signature. Someone said, maybe I'll get laid off. I don't want to quit. Getting fired would actually be good. I work Fridays and Saturdays. Yeah, it's possible. So it's 2 o'clock, but we'll kind of wrap up here. And this is going to be like the last thing I'm going to talk about before we end our live today and our time together today. Okay. So the sun and the south node together. All right. I want to talk about this for Virgo season because the south node has a lot to do with loss. It has a lot to do with exiting. It has a lot to do with purging. It has a lot to do with things that we release or things that we let go of to free ourselves and to liberate ourselves in some type of way, right? Like if it's no longer part of our karmic narrative or story, if it's not meant to be a part of our timeline anymore, um, then we may see it exit or go this season with the sun and the south node together. Okay. When the sun transits the south node, when the sun is going through the sign of the south node, like now, because we have the south node in Virgo with the sun gets weakened. And the sun, right, it's it has to go through like a divine cleansing in some type of way. And so what we may and but there's like a loss, like there's like a it's not about deprivation, but it's like a draining of energy. It's like a taking away, a siphoning. The South Node, I would connect it to the word siphoning, like siphoning energy or taking something away, draining, exhausting something, right? So with the Sun and the South Node together, I do think that there's going to be a few things that we're going to experience this month, okay? And we're going to see it mainly around the eclipses. We're not going to see it. We're gonna see hints and glimpses of it this week and next week, but we're really going to see it with the eclipses starting on September 7th and this kind of like, 1 month window that starts on September 7th during the eclipse period. Um, we're going to see people kind of like losing their life or people like leaving. Elderly people, people that are sick or people that are ill, kind of succumbing. So those that have been struggling with like a chronic illness over a long period of time, that have been dealing with an illness over a long period of time, we're going to see people succumbing to like a chronic illness or like if they have a terminal illness, we're going to see people exiting or see people, reaching the end of that terminal illness in some type of way. Because the sun transiting the south node. Okay. So I just want you guys to watch out for this. Okay. Also, pets, may fall ill. If you have elderly pets, they could pass away, okay? Pets could also, there could be just really weird karmic things that we experience with pets where they, we got to take them to the hospital, got to take them to the doctor, they're not doing well, stuff like that because of the sun transiting the south node. The other area of life that this is going to show up in is loss of jobs. Okay, loss of jobs, people losing jobs. So there's a lot of people leaving jobs, exiting jobs, losing jobs. Layoffs are going to be a huge, huge theme if with the sun and the south node together. So if you are an Aries or Libra rising, very important that you pay attention to this period, especially if you are an employee and you have a job, because the nodes are transiting your sixth house, 12th house axis. So this can affect your jobs, okay? If Mercury rules your sixth house or 12th house, so if you have Gemini or Virgo ruling the sixth or the 12th, this is something you also got to be a little aware of, okay? You got to be a little careful with. Or if you have Mercury placed in your sixth house or 12th house, okay? Because of the nodes going through Virgo and Pisces and stuff. Also, if your sixth house ruler is getting eclipsed, then like let's say your sixth house is in Libra. Okay, let's say you have your sixth house in Libra, which would make you a what? That would make you a Taurus rising, right? Let's say your sixth house is in Libra and you're a Taurus rising. So your sixth house is ruled by Venus, but you have Venus in Virgo. You have Venus in Virgo being eclipsed by the South Node, right? Well, guess what? That you can lose a job, sixth house, because Venus rules your sixth, right? You can use this in Vedic or in Western. This works for both. You could use it in your Vedic chart or your Western chart. This works for both, okay? You got to watch out, okay? Because you could end up like losing a job or getting laid off or something, okay? The other thing is the other area that's kind of sensitive is with the South Node and the Sun together. This Virgo season is health in general. So I already mentioned people that like have like chronic health conditions or terminal illnesses, like reaching the end of that. But in general, we're going to see a lot of people getting sick this eclipse season, this Virgo season. The South Node and the Sun in Virgo is like if you have not been taking care of yourself, if you have not been, engaging in habits or behaviors that are sustainable to your well-being, then your body may reach a breaking point where you end up with some kind of illness or sickness that culminates due to a lack of self-care over a long period of time. This can be around your teeth, this can be around your stomach, your digestive system, this can be around your nervous system. Like for instance, who had a mental health who like had a mental health break? Who like went crazy recently? That has a Mercury in Pisces that's getting eclipsed. Lil Nas X, right? Lil Nas X had a mental health episode where he lost his shit and he was walking around butt naked at 4 or 5 in the morning in LA yelling in the streets, right? Well, he has Mercury in Pisces and his Mercury is getting eclipsed. It got hit by the eclipses in um, March and April, and Saturn was also transiting his Mercury. So I just want you guys to think about it. I want you guys to be aware if you have Pisces, Virgo, Gemini stuff, yeah, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, it's like you gotta stay rooted in reality right now. You gotta make sure that you are taking care of yourself. You gotta watch for your habits and your behaviors. You gotta watch what you're putting in your body right now. Pisces is our mental, spiritual health. Virgo is our physical body health. Our physical health, right? Pisces is our health that is intangible, that you cannot see, which is emotional, spiritual, psychic. That's the health that is intangible. You can't see it. That's Pisces. Virgo is our tangible health, your physical form, your body, what you can see, your teeth, your eyes, your hygiene, your hair. Is your hair combed? Are you brushing your hair? Is your hair like a mess? Are you washing those clothes? That's Virgo, okay? Right? So but both of these areas, because the eclipses are hitting Virgo Pisces axis. Both these areas they're kind of vulnerable right now. There's exposure happening with these areas of our health, and there's a diminishing or a weakening or even a climax or a breaking point that some people could hit this season because the nodes push them over the edge. The eclipses push them over the edge when it comes to their mental health and their emotional health, especially Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag people. If you have your sun, moon, your rising, even your Mercury in those signs, okay? Mercury is a very sensitive planet. Mercury, when he gets hit by the eclipses and when he gets transited by malefics, like when he goes through a Saturn transit or when he goes through Mars transit, he feels it amplified intensely. And the moon too, because the moon and Mercury are the most sensitive, delicate planets. They're very, very delicate. They're very, very sensitive, right? And when they get hit by transits from bigger planets, or even when they get hit by the eclipses, they really go through it and they get impacted very deeply. They're very sensitive, very delicate. So we just want to watch for our emotional and our mental health, especially if we have a moon or a Mercury in Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius. If you have a moon or Mercury in Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, or if your rising is there, you kind of want to be mindful and be intentional and be healthy and be well this season, especially as we approach the eclipses, okay? Because you're a little bit more sensitive, you're a little bit more delicate, you're a little bit more vulnerable, right? One of the things the nodes are connected to as well is spiritual psychic attack or even um, like possession. It's one of the things associated with the nodes is being possessed and like psychic possession, or being taken over by a spirit or something, or being influenced by energies that are outside of you, right? So I just want you to be aware of this energy with the South Node and the Sun together, okay? And as we enter the eclipse season, I just want to share this insight with you guys because yeah, there's certain vulnerabilities, there's certain ways that we're being exposed, especially mutable people. Let's see what people are saying here. Hold on. Was he under the influence in Lil Nas X? I think he was on something. I think it's a combination of like him being under the influence and mental health stuff. I was definitely going to say Virgo season needs to be sober time. Yeah, yeah, sobriety is a good thing to aspire for. Aspire for this season. Virgo moon and Mercury. Oh, my tummy is cramping right now. I do take care of myself, but I have probiotics and a natural path, but I'm going through a lot right now. LOL moving. Left corporate America. Yep. Give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself. We're all very, very tired. Someone said, I feel like this is happening a lot with people practicing things they have no idea about. Yeah. The North Node in Pisces is like pulling us towards spirituality, right? A lot of people we're going like you're seeing a lot of people go through another wave of like spiritual awakening, or even seeing new people being introduced to the realms of spirituality, or seeing like people embarking on a spiritual journey. Many like people that haven't done it before, haven't been interested in like spirituality or faith or God or astrology and stuff. You're seeing a lot of these people like now they're turning to it because the North Node's in Pisces, right? The North Node is pulling us towards Pisces things, spirituality, faith, religion, different cultures, or clarifying our beliefs, wanting to explore psychics and mediums and stuff like that. We're feeling called towards that because the North Node is pulling us in the direction of Pisces things, right? So that's why a lot of people are going through like deep spiritual revelation, and people are like getting their Bibles and they're praying and they're, you know, name of the Father, the Son. How does it go? In Mass, I now proclaim the mystery of faith. And they get the little thingy and they do their little blood ritual. They do their little blood ritual. This is the body of Christ that you shall eat. This is the blood of Christ that you shall drink. You're over here drinking prune juice and being like, you're doing a spell, by the way, in church, okay, at an altar, all right, doing sacrificial blood magic, okay? drinking the blood of Christ. And baby, you're doing a ritual. You're doing blood magic. You're drinking the blood in the body, eating the body and drinking the blood of Christ. I don't know. It's giving red flag. It's a little weird to me. I don't want to drink the blood of Christ. I love the man. I think he's great, but I'm not trying to drink his blood. I'm good off that. I got my own blood. I'm okay. Thank you. Over here, nom, 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 nom. And then you're over here doing these prayers. You don't even know what you're saying. You're showing up to mass. You got all these 20 different million prayers, and you don't even know what you're saying. You don't even know what you're saying. You don't even know what you're praying to. I don't know. It's a little funky. It's a little weird to me. No blood ritual, just candles and talking to Jesus. I love that for you. I love me some Jesus. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Jesus. Okay. But drinking his blood, no, thank you. I appreciate it. I ain't trying to whatever kind of spell work y'all doing in that little church of yours. I'm good. I'll pass. I don't need to drink. I love Jesus, but I don't need to drink his blood. I don't need to eat his body. Okay. I'm good. I'm a vegetarian. All right. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. I'll pass on the wafer. Thank you very much. You know what I mean, though? Like, come on now. Come on now. It's craziness. But yeah. All right, my loves. I think this concludes oh, our astrology of the week. Someone said I don't eat my friends. Jesus was kind of You're a vegetarian as well. Love it. Love it. Yeah. A lot of people going vegan vegetarian right now. The with the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, a lot of people, changing their dietary habits and their eating habits. We have Mars in the second house away from Libra. So, we're gonna see a lot of people cleaning up their act, cleaning up their diet this month. This is a week of clean it up. Get your laundry done. Do your dishes. Go vegetarian. Do that colon cleanse. Do that colon detox. Okay, that liver is looking a little fatty. That liver is looking a little greasy. If we were to go ahead and wrap your liver in a towel, we'd just get all this oil and all this grease all up on. Like, have you guys ever have you guys ever gone to Wingstop? I like my wings bone in, by the way. I don't like bone out wings, but have you guys ever been at Wingstop and there was so much grease on your wings that you had to get like a paper towel and get all the excess grease off of it, especially if you like lemon pepper. Have you guys ever done? That's what your liver is like. Your liver is looking like a lemon pepper wing from Wingstop. That's what your liver is giving. Okay, your liver is giving an extra. The one on the is that last swing that's on the very bottom that's just soaked up it's just sitting in that baby. That's what your liver is looking like. You need a liver cleanse. You need a liver. That liver, okay, is is looking like one of those big old jars of canola oil. Okay, that's what it's looking like. It's time to do a liver cleanse. It's time to do a liver detox. All that greasy, oily food that you be eating, baby. Listen, all that fried food, it's time to put that to the side. Okay, it's not even Thanksgiving yet. Okay, we're not even in September yet. We're not even there. It's not even November. Relax, slow down, calm down. Okay. The kidneys, the liver, the pancreas, the digestive, the colon. Oh my God. They need work. Chris, someone said Crisco. Someone said they're doing laundry and doing a liver, gallbladder, and kidney and parasite cleanse right now. I love that for you. Yes, look at that. See that? Look at her. Aligned. She's in alignment. That's what we call alignment. I love that for you. Okay, beautiful people. I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna leave you on. I'm gonna leave on that note. Okay, I'm exiting stage left. On that note, I'm exiting stage left. My phone's about to die too, so All right, well, this is going to be on YouTube in a few hours. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time to me with me today. Um, Happy new moon in Virgo again. Eclipse season is on the incoming. Venus is in Leo now, just to wrap up. And yeah, have a beautiful, blessed day. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Okay. Don't overexert yourself. Don't stress yourself out. And be open to change. Okay. A lot of intense, dramatic, fast change happening in people's lives right now. And we just got to be open and receptive to it all. But I love you guys. Have a beautiful, blessed day. I'll see you around. Bye.